Liang joins us from Portland, Oregon. Professor Liang specializes in the international economy as well as the political economy of China. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, John.
Okay, so more than a week now, Beijing has described Trump's tariffs using words like bullying and blackmail, and again Tuesday warned the US that fight to the end. Here's a spokesperson for China's foreign ministry.
This is a typical example of unilateralism, protectionism, and economic bullying, and has been widely opposed by the international community. China strongly condemns and firmly opposes such actions. If it persists in disregarding the common interest of both countries and the international community and insists on escalating the trade and tariff conflict, China will, as always, fight to the end.
Have those words backed China into a corner? If they were to begin talks on some kind of trade deal, would they be seen, the government there, be seen as giving in to a bully?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think from China's point of view, this is unilateralism. This is about bullying. And if China has made any concession, this is going to just trigger further aggression. Not to mention now, I think the trust level is very, very low. So what China would give doesn't necessarily, would help China to get out of the tariff war. So I think by their calculation, for one, is yes, China is going to get a demand shock from the US's tariff, but the United States would also suffer really consequential, losses in their markets, both from the demand side, but also from the supply side. And also, both countries don't have the same degree of resilience and in terms of the domestic political economic pressures for the leaders to back down. So I think in Beijing's calculation, there's only one way, which is to up the escalation, right, to retaliate. And so I think it's very difficult for both countries now to kind of back down. And so it remains to be seen. Trump definitely wanted to play this sort of chicken game, right, to see who blinks first, and he believes he has all the cards. But I think it really remains to be seen how much longer he's able to hold up with all the pressures mounting.
I want to add into the mix here, though, some recent controversial comments from the US Vice President, Vance. Here he is speaking to Fox News.
And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture.
That is not without controversy in China. Many have been offended. Right now, price increases from tariffs will determine what products Chinese consumers buy or don't buy, essentially the market forces. But do comments like the ones we just heard have a potential to nationalize this dispute, and buying US-made goods is seen as being anti-China?
Right. I think, first of all, I think anyone who listens to this very racist comment have the right to be angry, right? And I think definitely this hurts the Chinese pride. And I definitely think that, this also in some ways really distorted the facts. The fact is that the US, by issuing the reserve currency, the dollar, that the rest of the world desires, and they're enjoying exorbitant privilege, right? That they're enjoying $1 trillion of trade deficit means that countries are sending their goods and services to the United States. And so I think it's a complete distortion of the facts that Vance is saying this in such an arrogant way as well, and racist way. Now, I think for China, I definitely think that there will be some kinds of boycott, right, of the US products. Not to mention, the Chinese products in Chinese market now, the US products in Chinese market now are gradually, I think, losing the kinds of preference from the consumers, right? From iPhone, from cars, you name it.
Yeah.
I think this will create some balances for, the US multinational companies. A lot of them still rely on the Chinese market, ranging from McDonald's or Starbucks or EVs, Tesla. So I think this is going to hurt the US's corporation's bottom line.
And just very quickly, we're now having word from the Commerce Secretary that 70 countries now want to negotiate a new deal. The quickest the US has ever negotiated a free trade deal was 4 months with Jordan. The deal was then implemented in a year and a half after that. On average, it takes somewhere between 18 months and 2 years. So if dozens of countries now want to make a deal, how long is it going to take?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. But I also wanted to know what exactly, Trump's end game is, right? So he is raising the tariff rate for countries like, Vietnam to 46% and others 44%. Many of the Asian countries are hardest to hit, despite the fact that, for a country like South Korea, they have free trade agreement with the United States. Their average tariff rate outside of the agricultural products is about 2.5%, and yet they're being levied to 25%. So even all the countries are willing to drop their tariff rate to zero, it's very doubtful that this is going to really reduce the US's trade deficit with these countries. EU has also proposed that both countries or both parties would lower the tariff rate to 0, but Trump rejected that. So I think it's very difficult to know at this point exactly what Donald Trump wants. So maybe what he really wants is, as he mentioned, right, just to see the countries kowtow to him. But it's also doubtful, if he does put a pause, it would be because of domestic economic pressure instead of the concessions the countries made.
Professor Liang, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate your time and your insights. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.